In the heart of Ho Chi Minh City, where modern skyscrapers rise beside historic boulevards, one building continues to connect the past with the present. Standing just steps away from Notre-Dame Cathedral Basilica of Saigon is the magnificent Saigon Central Post Office, one of the most beautiful colonial landmarks in Vietnam. More than a century after it first opened its doors, this grand post office remains a living symbol of communication, culture, and history in the city once known as Saigon. With Seni World Travel, we step inside a place where letters once carried dreams across oceans, and where architecture still tells the story of a remarkable era. The story of Saigon Central Post Office begins in the late 19th century, during the era of French Indochina, when Saigon was transforming into one of the most important colonial cities in Southeast Asia. Construction began in the 1880s, as wide boulevards, government buildings, and trading houses were reshaping the city's landscape. Designed by French architect Alfred Fulhu, the post office reflected both European architectural elegance and practical adaptations to the tropical climate of Vietnam. When the building officially opened in 1891, it quickly became one of the most vital communications centers in the region. From this grand hall, letters traveled across oceans, newspapers arrived from distant capitals, and telegrams carried urgent news between continents. For the people of Saigon, the post office was more than a public building. It was a gateway connecting the city to the wider world, where personal stories, commerce, and global events passed through its doors every single day. Architecturally, Saigon Central Post Office reflects the refined elegance of 19th century European design. Its warm yellow façade, tall arched windows, and intricate ironwork echo the style of grand railway stations and civic buildings that once defined urban landscapes in France. Yet stepping inside Saigon Central Post Office reveals an even more impressive scene. The vast, vaulted ceiling stretches gracefully across the hall like the nave of a cathedral, supported by steel beams and elegant columns that blend engineering with beauty. Along the walls, historic maps once illustrated the telegraph and postal routes linking Saigon to distant cities across Europe and Asia, a reminder of how communication networks were rapidly shrinking the world during that era. More than just a place for sending letters, Saigon Central Post Office was built as a symbol of progress and connection, reflecting the ambition of a city reaching outward to the global stage. Unlike many historic landmarks that have become museums, Saigon Central Post Office continues to serve its original purpose. Even today, visitors can still send postcards and letters from the same counters that have operated for generations. Inside the hall, the rhythm of daily life continues. Travelers writing postcards, locals sending packages, and visitors admiring the historic interior. At the far end of the hall, a large portrait of Ho Chi Minh watches over the building, reminding visitors of the nation's journey from colonial past to independent future. Standing proudly in the center of Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon Central Post Office sits within one of the most historically rich districts of the city. Just across the open square rises the red brick towers of Notre-Dame Cathedral Basilica of Saigon, creating a remarkable architectural pairing that has defined the skyline of old Saigon for more than a century. Surrounding these landmarks are elegant boulevards shaded by rows of tropical trees, where colonial buildings, quiet cafes, and small bookstores bring a relaxed rhythm to the busy city. Here, history is not hidden in museums. It lives openly in the streets. French colonial architecture stands beside modern Vietnamese life, while travelers and locals share the same sidewalks that once welcomed merchants, missionaries, and administrators from distant lands. In this neighborhood, the story of Saigon unfolds layer by layer, a place where the past and present meet, and where the city's cultural identity continues to evolve with every passing day. Stepping inside Saigon Central Post Office feels like entering a preserved moment of history. Beneath the sweeping vaulted ceiling, the grand interior reveals a space that has changed little since the late 19th century. Long wooden counters, vintage telephone booths, and antique mailboxes line the hall, quietly recalling an era when communication moved at a very different pace. In those days, letters traveled for weeks across oceans, carrying personal news, business deals, and stories from one continent to another. Along the walls, large historic maps display the postal and telegraph routes that once connected Saigon to major cities around the world, including Paris. These maps were not only decorative, they illustrated the expanding global network that linked colonial Saigon to Europe and the wider world. Looking up at the high arched ceiling and the elegant iron structure above, visitors can sense how architecture, engineering, and communication once came together in this remarkable public space. For many travelers today, the building is more than a beautiful landmark. It is a quiet witness to countless human stories of connection, migration, distance, and reunion. If you plan to visit Saigon Central Post Office, it is worth taking time to explore both its architectural details and the surrounding historic district. Early morning offers soft golden light that gently illuminates the building's yellow facade, making it one of the best times for photography. The atmosphere is calm, allowing visitors to appreciate the elegant arches and decorative ironwork without the crowds. By late afternoon, the square becomes more vibrant as locals, street photographers, and travelers gather between the post office and nearby landmarks in Ho Chi Minh City. One of the most memorable experiences here is surprisingly simple: sending a postcard. Inside the post office, visitors can still purchase stamps and drop their letters into traditional mailboxes, continuing a tradition that has existed for more than a century. For many travelers, this small act transforms a visit into something more meaningful, a way to send a piece of Saigon's history, culture, and charm across the world. More than a century after it first opened, Saigon Central Post Office remains one of the most beloved landmarks in Ho Chi Minh City. It is not just a place where letters travel, but a place where history lives. Within these walls, echoes of the colonial past meet the energy of modern Vietnam. With Cineworld Travel, journeys like this remind us that travel is more than visiting landmarks. It is about discovering the stories that connect people, cultures, and time itself. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more travel stories across Vietnam and Southeast Asia.